everyone. I'm live today with Song a Day Man on bass. Today we're going to be building a Twitter bot that turns your tweets into song lyrics. He's been battling with Eliza OS for days for his new project, Human, and now you get to watch us either triumph or crash spectacularly. Let's make some AI magic happen. Today's your birthday, so I'll start off with happy birthday, Mr. Man. How you feeling
Thank
today?
you. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I have to say, sweet man, every time I get on one of these with you, I feel like the ideas just start like coming to me like an ocean, like a waves on the ocean. I watched you set this whole thing up, and your whole method for how you set up these live streams is amazing. And I was telling you that like I've have this whole idea of how to set up a live stream for Song a Day, and now I have all these other ideas about like I can utilize LLMs. One of the things about live streaming Song a Day is that it's such a pain to try to talk about Song a Day while I'm doing it. I hate doing it. It's like it uses way too much of my brain for the talking when I want to be doing the making. One could employ an LLM and sort of like train it on what you're doing, where it watches what you're doing and talks about what you're doing. Like that I can't hear it, and I'm not gonna yeah. Anyway, so that just made me think about
Like an animal in a zoo cage, and there's a narrator standing outside in the glass room
literally
saying, observe the bears. And like,
yes.
all the
In
context.
fact, give it, what's his name? Give it that guy's voice. The here we see, the British guy who does that's hilarious. Like here we see the North American specimen. Yeah, I love that. Well, anyway, so I just had to get that out there because good Lord. Thank you so much for we had this planned somewhat, and then just to talk about Human, my new project that just launched, human.agency. You can do the QR code. It is a autonomous songwriting bot. You might know of various and sundry AI based, avatar based songwriting things. Hume is a great example. Their projects are really wonderful. Or the old school Miku is sort of the famous example. What makes Hugh different is that Hugh has no human input. Every day he writes a song by deciding what to write about, and from that decision, that idea, all the way to execution, all of it is completely autonomous. There's no person telling him what to do. And it's been an amazing journey, and we're just at the very beginning, and I hope you'll go check it out. You can connect with him and chat with him. You can't prompt him, obviously, but if you chat with him enough, maybe some of what you say might end up in the song. And I think of that in a lot of ways as people always DM me, hey, write a song about this, write a song about that. And, sometimes I do, but a lot of times I don't. But sometimes ideas that people send me, or like something somebody says, will end up in a song. It's just much more natural that way. It's like if we're talking and some word or something triggers something in me. So what we're working on now is, and I wanted to obviously have this ready for launch, but there was so much else to do. So Hugh's going to have a Twitter presence, a Twitter and Farcaster presence. And we're going to use Eliza OS. Asking around, everyone basically said that this is the main way to do it. I spent probably about 3 days futzing with V2 before folks in the Discord said, yeah, you might not want to be futzing with V2 yet because it's so new and not ready. And so go do V1, and then you'll have to upgrade to V2, but just do V1 and then make it work. So pretty easy, pretty like it was pretty straightforward actually getting the V1 Twitter up and running. I have a character file here. Oh no, I'm clicking the wrong place. I have a character file here for Hugh. This needs a lot of work, but actually, this might be interesting. I gotta be careful what I show on my screen. The the backbone of what makes the chat work on the human.agency site is essentially something called DSPY. And I'm not sure I can fully explain what that is, but suffice to say that it's a system where you programatize prompting. It's a very complicated and interesting system. So, but what I did is I fed this system all of my data, all of my emails, all of my messages, all of my everything. And that one, because I already had all of that stuff, it was very easy for me to build out this Hue file. It's not perfect. Like, I have to do a little bit more tweaking and tuning, but we have examples that are actual examples from group text messages and things like that. It's all set up. We have plugin Twitter. The bot is tweeting. Let me bring that up
real quick.
Yeah. Let me show you. Again, he's not 100% yet. I need to do a lot of tuning to his thing, but I haven't done a lot of the tuning yet because the thing that I wanted to get up and running, here he is. What he said. He said something recently that I thought was kind of funny.
So you got him on every 5 minutes he sends a tweet?
Just about, yeah.
Cool.
What did he say?
Is it running locally right now, or have you deployed this?
Just locally.
Copy.
What did he say? He said, the very first thing he said actually was kind of funny. He said, "Got a lot on my plate this week, trying to keep everything straight." This Twitter account, just for lore purposes, is actually all the way from back in 2019, when I had a version of GPT-2 trained on my lyrics, and you could prompt it by saying !right. He would conclude that nothing was real except chance, and it would take that first sentence and expand it out to lyrics.
Wow.
So that's sort of a nice lore thing of this account was the very, 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 very first iteration of what human.agency eventually became, this site where he's now chatting to himself.
Your agent's been alive longer than Terminal of Truth, than the Goatsy guy, and you've had an OG song bot before Cerebro and all the others, and you're just now updating its logic with new software.
Here's this very first tweet: a song created by AI, August 20th, 2019. So so you could see here, actually, I've been trying to get him to answer me and to write to me. So let's get into the nitty gritty of exactly what I'm trying to do here. So I have my character file that's set up. We have I got a message from my dev. Let me make sure nothing's on fire. The songwriter prompt got messed up. They ran out of output tokens. Oh, that's fine. Okay. We have this generate action, and stop me at any point if something that we're doing is a little bit off track or whatever. But we have this generate actions thing, and what it's supposed to do is take in when someone tweets at it, as we just saw. I don't know where I put it, but write a song about something, takes that in, grabs the everything after write a song about, it grabs that, it sends that to this little script that I have here, which is essentially the same script that generates lyrics within Hugh's actual system, that makes his own song a day. And we can talk a bit about how that works. It might be interesting. But then it takes the output, or it's supposed to take the output of that, some lyrics. See, it's been doing every single song that I ask, which is really funny, because I was just tweeting anything at it to try Trump's butt on a golf ball, Trump's butt on a golf ball with dimples aligned, swinging clubs into the rough.
So are these responses from the tweets that you've been posting that you're not seeing a response on Twitter?
Correct.
Okay,
So
so you are at least getting the signal. It's executing your script. You're getting an output, but the only thing it's not doing is actually replying to the tweet.
So I need to caveat that because yes, up until this morning, and then I did a bunch of work on it this morning, and well, yes, it was doing that, and then what was happening was that we put in this suppress flag, because essentially what was happening was, like, for a long time, what was happening was I would tweet the write a song about, and then the agent would respond immediately, essentially,
Right.
to the thing. And so then we discovered, me and Cursor were like, oh, over here, here's this suppress flag we need to add. So we added the suppress flag, but then we realized that all the suppress flag does is it makes it so we can give it like a stock response. So it was like, it wasn't waiting for the lyrics. It was just like, we could say, when you get this, say this specifically. That's what it seemed like it was doing. And so then we found in Actions MD on Eliza OS, we found this basic action template, and then also there was like a template for image generation.
Yep.
And it seemed like this template for image generation seemed like a promising place, because it's a similar kind of thing that you would want to do. You'd say, hey, generate this image. It would get the thing, it would wait for the image, and then it would give the image. And so once it added a bunch of stuff, in fact, here, I literally just had it rebuild it from scratch. Here's what I said. I said, look at all these docs. The script listens for a tweet that says write a song about. Then the agent gets when the agent gets the tweet, it extracts the subject, it sends it to the thing. The app takes about 60 to 90 seconds to make the lyrics, which we then pass back to the action script to be the reply. So it did that. It said, here's the plan. We'll make the action. Can you see that? I can make it a little bigger.
Yep.
Here's the action script. Define an action name, generate song action, set suppress additional message to true, implement the validate function to trigger the action when the message starts write a song about. I think that this is, the handler function, basic error. There was a bunch of stuff, and this is something I'm completely unfamiliar with. There was a bunch of stuff about like UUID.
Yeah, right.
That I don't know anything about. And it seemed to me that pre-UUID, whatever that is, it was answering the LLM. It was answering the thing right away, but on the back end, it was also generating the lyrics. Now, post UUID, it's not answering right away. So that behavior is done, but it's also not running our script now. And so now, like, the kind of output that you see is essentially, you can see here in the output, it gets, gotta move this over here. It gets, it sees the input, write a song about a toaster, and then in the previous version before UUID, at that point, we would see we'd see the Python script kick in, and we would see it generating. And then what would happen is it would generate, and then nothing would happen. It would just kind of hang. But now we see it sees it, something, happens, and then we get this like very like unhelpful error handling Twitter interaction message.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I think the point of importance right now on the chessboard is whenever the Python script was triggered. We want to get back to the Python script being triggered, because if we can get back to there, we can make progress.
So wow.
That when you tweet, your Python script's being triggered. How can we get back to that place so that you and I can tweet, the Python script is triggered?
Yeah.
And we can navigate how to suppress the initial response and update the response.
I see. You know what's funny about that is I literally had that same thought. I was like, man, I wish I had saved it. And I actually went back and tried to
Roll
do
back.
like a restore.
Right.
It wasn't working, but we can try it again just in case.
Can you find the spot in chat when it broke? Is that possible? Or do you have, it looks like right now you're looking through the recent conversations. Was it in this conversation or was it a different combo?
It was a different convo. I'm talking to Gemini 2.5 Pro, which has a very long context, but it also, falls down eventually. But I'm noticing that I think I may have only gone back to today.
Mm-hmm.
And I think to make this, to see if we can get that, I think I have to go back all the way to yesterday.
And to be clear, you're not using any sort of version control like Git right now.
I'm not.
I should.
It would be. I'm raw dogging and I'm using the restore checkpoints, which
Beautiful.
Yes, it would be better. Okay, yeah, like this here. I mean, I even said bad news: lyrics generated but didn't send more embedding. Oops, I don't need to do that. What I need to do is click that, continue. Okay, so something happened to this. So let's try that now. So we'll do build, and we'll do hide that. Okay, and then okay, right, and then what I need to do is I need to go to Twitter.
Are you using the default llama or is what's the model you're using? Open Router.
Open Router. Yep.
Copy.
Okay, so now I'm gonna here. I'll just bring this to my screen so we can see it. I'm gonna say at song a day man bot. Right, a song about sweet men. Okay. Okay, and so now with any luck, if this did indeed roll it back in the way that we hope it did, in just a second we should see it
generating text.
Yeah, we should see it like thinking about that and that. Oops, doing something. Make that bigger again. Okay. What kind of stuff have you built with Eliza? Like what kind of things have you had luck with?
I have built Eliza stuff for Agent Kit with Coinbase. I was originally thinking I wanted Eliza to be the backbone for Recoup.
Yeah.
And the point where I stopped liking Eliza was when I tried to deploy it. I loved how it worked locally.
Interesting.
Hosted was when I was like, I have to pay for a 50 gigabyte server somewhere.
Oh,
it's going to be expensive. And so since then, I've migrated into using Vercel AI SDK. Because with Vercel AI SDK, I host it on Vercel.
It's on Vercel already. It's already there.
It's all
interesting.
Free. And so I don't have to worry about paying for servers. And my goal is to keep the costs as low as possible so that we can
100%. Oh, so this is interesting because now
Did you get the file generated at least? Is your Python running right now?
No, but it's because it thinks that Python is not. But that just might be because I need to conda into
a VNV, your virtual environment.
Well, honestly, sweet man, I don't understand. I don't completely understand the difference between env, conda, npm, like nvm. If you looked at like wherever that is stored in my home directory, I'm sure you'd be horrified because it's just like probably a rat's net, and I'm like shells over here, and I'm restarting. I'm like, what is going? But anyway, I think so. I have this conda called Lyrics that has the things that it needs to do the thing. So that actually, I think that is what it's saying. Is that it just needs?
I think you're right.
I think it just needs to be that conda need that it just needs like Anthropic. It needs whatever it needs. Well, we could even look at it. Oh, while we're waiting for this here, I'm going to have to send another tweet. But while we're waiting for this, I can also explain a bit about how the script works that I truly vibe coded and is actually quite a journey. Write a song about vibes. Okay. To get there, famously LLMs have very are very bad at writing lyrics. Like it's just not something that they can do, which is understandable. And so getting it, for a long time, I was like, okay, I'm going to fine tune. I'm going to take a model. I'm going to give it, I have my data. I spent so long down that road. It's so hard. What I've learned about fine tuning, honestly, is it's all about data preparation. You have to be, I think, in some ways, like an expert data preparer to make a fine tune work. Oh, what's happening here? Something is happening. It still did not. Oh, yeah. Wait, there's a different thing, though.
Excellent. We've gotten past the Python error.
It is. Now it's an error in handle text only reply, which is not something I've seen before. It couldn't execute command Python vibes. It's got all the info it needs.
Perfect.
But it says error and text handle reply. Can you see that?
Yeah, is that function something you've seen or written?
No.
Or could we do a global search for handle text only reply to see where that is?
Yes, we could do that. Let's see what that yields.
Plugin, cool. So there's something failing with the ability for the Twitter plugin to reply.
But that what that tells me is that we needed to go further back.
Okay.
What that tells me is that we need to go further back because that was not a problem that we were having. In terms of it generating, that was like not a problem we were having before. So, let's go back even further. Bunch of invalid. Okay, this seems like probably a good place. Let's see if that changed anything. All right, let's try again.
And for clarity, I also just do Python envs in random places. Python is not my main language. And
yeah.
The best option is the one that works for you. And if that's being stored in random places and that serves you for now, better than you running off to an ivory tower trying to study the theory and not practice for weeks or months.
Yes.
So I think your method.
And I think I would imagine it's just like anything, right? It's like, if you look at how I organized my folders at the beginning of Song a Day in terms of like all of the stuff, it's horrific. And now I'm super organized because I have a mental model. I have a way to think about it. I imagine it's the same. Like eventually I'll understand the landscape a bit better, and I will understand like, oh, okay, here's how to manage these things.
Yeah, your experience is informing the practice, and that is the best form of guiding principle. Instead of following a guru and their experience is not going to match yours,
right?
You're developing the best practice for what.
That's so smart. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's like if I listen to somebody else, I'd be like, oh, but that. Yeah, if their model doesn't fit my model, there's no way to reconcile that. But so anyway, fine tuning didn't work, and for a long time I used a single system prompt. We were using a single really good system prompt that I developed by sending Claude pairs of lyrics. Here's a prompt. Here's my lyrics, and here's LLM lyrics a bunch of times. Tell me what is different about the good lyrics and the bad lyrics, and it would write that into a prompt. Okay, we're gonna get that in stages. This is crazy because this is not even things that I was seeing before. So, let's go back even further. Let's see. It's fixed rounds. Oh yeah, wait. Oh yeah, that's funny. At one point, I missed that there was a thing in the end that was. I can't show you that. Yeah, there's a thing in the end that was like Twitter actions, yes or no or whatever, and it was like it was off for a long time. I was like, why isn't it working? And then it was like, turn on Twitter actions. It was like, oh yeah, okay. But let's see. Let's go back a little bit further.
All of this is from today. All of this Like,
This is all from yesterday. This is all yesterday. Yeah. Okay, wait. We're gonna try this one more time, and then what we might have to do is have it rebuild without giving it any of this other knowledge, because without the actions MD knowledge, or these are also bits of the actual Twitter plugin that is a dependency. Without that knowledge, it made it so it worked. The Python part worked, but the other part didn't work. If that makes sense. It probably made a bunch of wrong assumptions, about like how write a song about death. Okay. So back to that story. So I developed this system prompt by showing Claude good examples and bad examples of songs, and said, here's a bunch of good examples, write a system prompt that essentially instructs it to make good songs and not bad songs, essentially. Right. And that worked really well. And like, that's a really good way to write a prompt in general, is find a bunch of good examples and bad examples, show it to Claude, and have Claude write the system prompt based on those things. This is potentially better, what we're seeing, because now, with luck, right here, maybe. Test handler. That's
generate song action.
Yeah. It has this.
Your tweet.
Yeah. It was. Okay, let's see. We might even go back further. Yeah.
Has it replied to any of these so far, or we still haven't even gotten to?
We still haven't even gotten to the point where it actually writes the. This is so funny. Oh yeah, at this point we were just trying. Okay, I'm gonna go back even further. Here we go. This is really funny. This is like, it's funny to hear you say that, because I had the same thought. I was like, I should have kept the version where the Python thing was working. And this is why you do versioning, right? This is why you do version control. It's like, it's very easy, right? Just make a new branch. Okay, this is the branch where, where something else is happening.
Observation status is duplicate.
That's fine. That's fine. That's just because it tweeted the same thing, because it's not super good at thinking right now. But that's fine, I think. Now write a song about Twitter. Okay. My ideas are getting less creative as we go. So the answer that I came to with making a good lyric script, and what's crazy about this is it will work for anybody, and it's easy. It's easy as fuck.
What is it?
I think you can use any thinking model. I use Claude because Claude is just the best at creative. Everyone knows that. It's the best at. So I have my songs put into clusters. I clustered my songs. There's a whole way to do that. But anyway, I feed Claude the prompt, plus it chooses a random cluster, and it is given 10 examples in that cluster. Okay, this looks good. It's given 10 random songs in that cluster. And then what it does, actually, I can show you this. What it does is, and I can show you it right here, because it'll be right here. It is instructed to write as many. Oh, look, it did it. Here, we did it.
Show us the tweet.
Okay, so the input was write a song about Twitter. So Twitter.
Right. So Twitter.
And here are the lyrics.
That it pulled in for context from a cluster.
Yes, exactly. Well, here you can actually see what I was just talking about. You can see, because what he does is he looks, or they, I don't know who they are. They look at all of the examples. I'm going to find the stylistic elements that make this category cohere. Here's all the things about that. And then let me think about how to make a song about Twitter. Wow. And then, actually, he fucked up because he did not do it. That's not what's supposed to happen. What's supposed to happen is on this one. Yeah, this one, on the last one about whatever it was. Vibes. This one was about vibes. What we're supposed to see is he goes through and he does drafts. Here's my first draft. How does it match the examples? Does it not? Here's my second draft. Does it not? Here's my third, fourth, fifth. Okay, now I finally got one that I feel like really fits the examples. Wow. And I'll be fucking damned if it's not just really good. So the key to this is any musician can group their lyrics into, they're not going to have as many as I do, but I don't think you need to, even if you have 30 lyrics, you could have 3 groups of 10 and it will output lyrics in your style. Like it will do it. Mm-hmm. It's dead simple. So you're saying there's a system that could work for other musicians as well for generating lyrics based off of their existing work? 100%. And it's like, I feel like, I started trying to even build the thing where you would just, because it's really not that difficult. The hardest part is probably grouping the songs, is like having a programmatic way to group one songs is like, that part is a little bit tricky, but like, it's not even that tricky. So if I'm hearing you right, where you've landed on for top tier lyric generation for musicians is don't fine tune. System prompts are decently important to generate, but the big keys that you're using are get all of your lyrics and have them accessible for the LLM to be able to access, to be able to reference things that you've already written. After that, have it generate not just the first output, but have it generate an output and then evaluate its own output against your song lyrics to see if it's high quality, and have it iterate between generate lyrics and verify if those lyrics are high quality 4 or 5 times. And after it has done that iteration of output, take a later iteration of that, and that is going to be high quality. And what's actually cool about it, I've built it so that, in Human, all of it is autonomous. So I am not able to come in and be an arbiter of, but if one were using this in a different context, you would have, like 5 or 6 versions of the lyrics. And sometimes honestly, I am like, oh, version 3, I actually think I like a little bit better than the final. So you would, if you were using this in a different context, you could definitely go in and say, oh yeah, like, let me grade you a little bit and judge you. And honestly, there's also a layer where you could add that in, a sort of fine-tuning, human reinforcement fine-tuning, where you could judge it and say, oh, I like this, I don't like this, I like this, I don't like this, of its, you could have it, man, I'm actually just thinking about this, but you could have it have the same logic, but it outputs it one at a time, says, what do you think of this? And you give it a little bit of feedback, and then you give a little feedback. And then it could add your feedback into anytime it gets that cluster again, it has that specific feedback. There's a whole, but it's honestly, it's like, it's not hard. It's like, it's just time. Okay. What I'm doing is I'm trying this again because for some reason it ran and it worked, and it got the input. It got the examples. We can see, oh no, this is the run we're doing now. The only thing that we're missing, oh wait, did it output lyrics, but, oh, interesting. Okay, well anyway, let's just make sure that this run actually worked. Yes, okay, this run actually, for whatever reason, that run failed. Maybe there was a Claude problem or something, but this one worked because I said, write a song about how the future is unknown forever, and it gave us lyrics. You'll notice, like, one of the main things is it doesn't rhyme. This is something that, like, is just so frustrating to me, that LLM lyrics, like, insist on, like, simple rhyme schemes, just very almost like, and it rhymes forever with water, which is nice. Like, it repeats itself a lot, which is like something that what songs do, but like LLMs won't do. LLMs won't, left to their own devices, like, ever. Anyway.
Did we get a response on Twitter? Did the bot reply?
I'm going to guess no, but let's let's see. The answer is no. Although interestingly, it did something a little bit different than it had been doing, which is it gave me its default response, which is just to respond. But whereas before it was saying, "Oh, that's cool. I will write a song about that." This time it just generated what I would say are bad lyrics. The future's like a mystery, unknown and out of sight. We can guess and make predictions, but we won't know until the light. You know, da, 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 da.
So we are in a place where you send a tweet and you tag it. The Python script that you want to run is getting executed and the bot is replying. And the problem that we have right now is that the response to your tweet is not related to the Python script that is running. Is that accurate?
That's correct. Yes, that's exactly right. What seems to happen is that as soon as it registers that I tweeted at it, in fact, I think you can probably see that here. I think what is happening in these logs, and I don't understand a lot of these logs, but like I think that well, no, I don't totally understand. You can see it here. That it sees actually. My question is essentially like, when is it replying? Because I think what's happening is it's replying, I think, before it can even get this generate song action function, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Right?
You're thinking the order of events is not valid, or it's not considering outputs in its response.
It says that this was tweeted at 11:37 a.m. And so if you look at this, I think that this is the response that we got.
Yeah.
Right? 11:37 a.m. Model provider open model large. And so it responded to my text, to my tweet there. And then it executed the whole thing.
Sure.
And so I would imagine, right? Because this is sort of before me and Cursor had discovered. In fact, this. Oh God, I can't show that. Ooh. Let me take it over here just so I can check out the. This might have even before I discovered. No, enable action processing is true, so that's what we want. But it might have been before we discovered like the suppress tag, for instance.
Right. That seems like the more recent discovery for you.
Yes. Okay. So
my question is, where is generate song lyrics hooked into this thinking workflow? Where have you defined generate song lyrics, and how is it currently tied into the thinking workflow?
I have no idea, but maybe you can tell me. So here's that.
Here's the definition of the action, right? And now can we do a global search for generate song action and see where this is imported?
Sure.
Also, Databots just jumped in with a comment. He said /m other / I think that's him throwing his arms up in the air.
Oh, woohoo!
Yeah, like that. And Sid Swift said in all caps, "This is so fire." So it sounds like you've got some musicians tuning in, loving this deep dive into how you're building an AI.
So it appears as though generate song action is going into index.ts.
Let's open up that index file for me.
Which would make sense. So that's here.
Yep.
Generate song action. Yeah.
Yep. Go. Keep going. Let me see the next reference of it.
That's
next one.
Yeah.
Keep going. Okay. So here's our agent runtime, and it has one set of actions from line 68 to 70 of generate song lyrics. And you should also have a client of Twitter. Where's Twitter defined here?
Oh, it's not.
Where's the Twitter plugin being used? I see Bootstrap plugin, Node plugin, Solana plugin, but I'm not seeing Twitter. So where is Twitter being imported? Check your character file for me.
Yeah, it is in the character file. I know that.
So that's show me in there.
Yeah, wait. It's here.
Client's Twitter. Okay, so we've got the plugin and then the client's Twitter. And we could have also defined our yeah, okay. Okay, so this is the character file you're manually loading in. And then in our index.ts, take me back to the index.ts for where we just were for generate song lyrics. Okay, and so now we've got our agent runtime. The character is being loaded in on character on line 61. And so line 61 is where we're getting that character with the Twitter plugin, and then we're manually adding a couple more. And so our question is how do we get those two things together? Because like you say, right now they are running disconnected, generate song action and the Twitter plugin. Right now the Twitter plugin right now is a standalone module. It has its own logic. It takes your character file into consideration, but it has the code for, I got a tweet, I'm going to reply to the tweet, and it's going to do that based off of the personality. The question that I have is, do we need to copy the Twitter plugin into your repo so that we can manually customize the Twitter plugin to be manually connected? Or is there an easier method than that to pass special information into the Twitter responses?
So it's so funny because you sound just like Cursor. And so my the place where I'm starting from, and maybe I'm fucking wrong about this, but the place where I'm starting from, first of all, is like, I'm like, I can't be that I have to like manually like futz with the plugin to do what it feels like is such a basic thing to me.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the wrong place to be coming from. But so there is this actions MD, right? And in this actions MD, I can't tell you exactly what it was that Cursor saw, but there were things that Cursor saw that was like, oh, this seems really useful, like the image generation. Like, it doesn't say anything in this specifically about Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, all the actions are about like, crypto bullshit.
Right.
But it does have this image generation action.
And this was helpful for you to generate your song lyrics action. Like this is, I'm sure, what you use to get your generate song lyrics.
I mean, it wasn't. I mean, at least I don't remember it being aware of this, although it might also be in these docs. I mean, it's not even in like the main doc. So I don't know. I don't think so in some ways. I think like it somehow knew about actions and was able to build it to the point where it could output do what it does now.
Let me see your generate song lyrics again. I think
Yeah.
you're right. We shouldn't need to modify the Twitter plugin because you've got things like Clankerbot and others that reply and they're like, I did this thing.
Yeah, how would they unless all of them are using modified?
That doesn't make sense. I agree. So now I'm wondering what is returned from your generate song lyrics plugin. I understand it's generating files, but what is it specifically returning?
What is the thing? Yeah, I mean, I remember it talked about this a lot actually. It's right now it looks like it says generate song action reading lyrics from, and it's reading the lyrics from the output file.
Yep.
Where it generated.
Let me see the action. So there's inside of an Eliza plug where we just were. Yeah, let's minimize the terminal. There's inside of a plugin, there's a few things that they do. Providers get information so that can be used in the thinking of the response. Then there's providers. Let me see it. We should have all that in here. Examples, the handler triggers a function call that's going to run, and what is returned from our handler. We're returning invalid trigger. Keep scrolling down. We've got a constant if, Eliza debugging info. Are there any other return? Okay, so there's another return statement. Sorry, I generated but had trouble finding the lyrics file. Looking for the next one. Another one. Sorry, I generated but encountered an error. Sorry, I generated but they seem to be empty. Okay, and then we get a successful one of lyrics content. In our logs, do we have that log that is being emitted on line 84 that says successfully generated lyrics? Can we find that log in the run?
Oh, interesting. No, I don't think so. I mean, this is what we got. This is that whole section. Like basically this, all of this is the Python. Like when I run this script outside of here, this is sort of what I see, right? This is like the Python output.
Okay.
And then the only output we're seeing, I guess, is this. So
reading lyrics. And where's okay, so reading lyrics, is that line 69?
Let's see. Reading lyrics is line. Yes, it looks like it is. Yeah.
Okay, so we get to line 69 and we see the logs on line 69, but then we do not.
We don't do nothing else. None of this stuff happens, right?
Okay, and so we have. Can we keep scrolling through logs and verify that? Because I would expect some either
let's see,
gets caught or something else.
Let's see, because this is the only other. The whole time that we've been talking, this is the only other thing that we've seen.
This to me is the point on the board for us to look at. Why is the last log line 69? Why are we not seeing the? Because what that's telling me is we're never returning the song lyrics, and that would make sense as to why the tweet does not encounter it, because we're not returning it in order for it to be there. I would expect if there was an error, it would have gone into your catch loop, because you've got a few try catches in here, and in all of the catches, you've got logs being emitted, and so we should have seen
something
those logs. And so what I would do here is I would open up my cursor on the side, my cursor chat, and I would say, here's the logs from the last, or I would say, why is the last log I see reading the lyrics? Why don't I see any of the preceding logs? Here's all of the logs I got from the last run. Copy and paste them from your terminal over there. And I would see what it told me there in its analysis, so that I'm not thinking too hard on this problem.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. So here's all the logs I got on this. I should probably update this just so it doesn't get confused. This was like my way of giving it context every time.
Do you agree this is the right place to be looking, or do you think?
No. This makes sense to me. In fact, we don't even have the suppress agent.
Let's ignore the suppress flag for now.
Yeah. All of this we're just going to delete. Okay, that's enough for it to know. Okay, here are all the logs I got on this. And paste that, and then why does it seem like the logs? Would I say, like, I mean, you're being very specific. Why does it seem like the logs stop at line 69?
Yeah, is that the line it was?
Yeah, reading lyrics from.
Yep.
Stop at line 69.
I would, and you included the you included the context.
Great. Yeah, they're both there. So.
Prompt number 1 of our live stream, 48 minutes in, we are back to the state where it works. We are now prompting.
The logs don't actually stop. The log message clearly shows the code executes the path and reach line 77. It does? Attempted to line 77. The code executed successfully past line 69. The rejects. Oh, that's like it, right? It saw the thing. The code attempted to read the file. Since there are no error logs, we can infer that the first read was successful. The next expected log message doesn't appear. It seems the action successfully returned the content. Line 61, line 91. See, it's saying something different than what we're sort of thinking. But does that make sense to you, what it's saying? And other unrelated processes started logging by returning the lyrics, but
let's expand the terminal again so I can see where are we at.
Yeah.
Is it doing more new stuff or?
No, I killed it. So I mean,
reading lyrics, and then we say invalid message for knowledge query. Where is that invalid message for knowledge query?
I don't think it is in here. Is it invalid? Oh, no. Invalid trigger message.
Invalid message, invalid space message.
But there is no invalid message for knowledge query, right? In this? Because that to me seems like it's coming from somewhere else.
Try a global search for that. Invalid message for knowledge query.
Invalid message. Invalid message. The only one is the one. The only things that are close are the ones we're seeing.
Invalid message for knowledge query. Okay, so the last log we're seeing is that. So the chat is hallucinating by saying the logs.
Yeah. I'm gonna say.
I understand. I understand there's more in the file, but in our logs, this is the last log we see.
Our actual logs. This is the last two things we see.
And what's the model you're using? You're using Gemini. You like Gemini?
Yeah. I mean, I've been using it today. We could switch to Claude.
Claude 3.7. Yeah, Sid just suggested Sonnet Max. I've never used Sonnet Max, and I know it's expensive, so
it is expensive. Yeah, we can do Sonnet. I understand more of the file on actual logs. This is the last two things we see. The invalid message. What is it? Invalid. Invalid message for knowledge query. Message for knowledge thing is not in our script at all. Let's see what it says to that.
I understand there's more in the file, but in our actual logs, this is the last two things we see. Yep. Based on the logs, getting stuck at reading operation, the last log. Yep. Handling indefinitely, hanging indefinitely, taking an extremely long time to read, throwing an error that isn't being properly logged. Since we don't see any, is that the file reading operation is hanging. To fix this, you could add a timeout, check if the file exists before you try to read it. That sounds potentially right, that it is having trouble reading the file. The question that I would have following up is it already succeeding at reading any files before we get to that line to invalidate chat's hypothesis that it is having trouble reading a file?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, I know that we see the output, we see the generation output. We see the first few lines of it. But I don't know if that's just what... I think that's just what
that's in your Python script.
That's in my Python script. So I don't. Yeah. So I don't think that's necessarily true. It's definitely there. So you're saying is there something where it's like having trouble reading it?
It's telling us it's hanging up on FS read on reading a file. I am curious if at another point in your script it has already read a file, because if so, then we know it's already capable of reading files, and that's not the issue. My question is file reading the point where this is failing?
Yeah, I don't think it's reading any. I mean, unless I'm wrong, I don't think it's reading any files before that.
Okay, so this is the only time it tries to read a file is at the end of the execution of your tool.
I mean, unless I'm completely missing something, because all it does, right, is it either is like, should I tweet or not? And then it gets the tweet, which is not reading a file, right? And that's it. Yeah. And then it does the thing, and then it fails. So
in that case, let's see what its options. It's suggesting, okay, to fix this, you could add a timeout, check if the file exists, add additional logging, verify file permissions on the output directory.
None of those sound... I don't know.
Is there a way that we can get this output without reading a file? How are we executing the Python script right now?
Yes.
Is it inside of this JS file?
I believe so, but you tell me. It is called... It's run direct generation.py.
Do a global search for the file name, please.
Run. Oops. Direct. Oh.
So it's
There we
inside.
go. Yeah, it's there.
Okay. All right. So we're using path. We have a directory, path.join, and then you're just straight up executing a script. Okay. This is a point where I wonder, okay, we're executing a script, but I don't, well, there's the command. Where is it? Okay. We're await the execute promise on line 54. My first thought was, are we awaiting it? But it does look like we're awaiting it on line 54. And it looks like we're getting the output from that. How are we handling std out? So double click on std out on line 54. And okay, Python script std out. Are we getting that Python script std out in the logs? Did we see that in the latest run of your logs? Python script std out. Okay, here's our Python script std out, loaded it, yada, yada, generation complete. Keep scrolling. Is there anything in this specific log that you want? Does this include the lyrics or no?
It includes the first few things of the lyrics, but no.
Okay, what I would suggest here is I would focus on having this be what we use instead of reading the file, because we have already verified that the TypeScript file is getting this output and it's logging it. What are we doing after this? Online, going back into the file. So it seems like reading the file is having issues. However, we're already getting a response from the Python file. We see it in the logs right there. Why don't we try to use that data and get rid of this step of reading a file to simplify it, because less is more, simple is best, small is beautiful is the principle.
I think I understand what you're saying. So you're saying rather than get the lyrics as a text file, since we know the lyrics are here, we'll put the lyrics here and then
let's parse it. Yeah, like you've got a specific thing in here, and let's filter all the text after this specific point in that output and use that to return.
So that's when we do this here, right? In this generation script, or we do that elsewhere?
I think you're right. It is in the generation script.
What would I?
I see the dot. Why are we seeing that ... in your logs? Is it because there are more logs and the logs are automatically being concatenated, truncated, or is your Python script adding in the ...
I think it's adding in the ... It says print first 200 characters.
Okay, and we can see that inside of your log here.
I mean, we can see
100 characters. Yeah, where's that first 100 character line? I see generated lyrics and then in parentheses
405.
That is different, because there I don't see generated lyrics first 100 characters. In your logs.
I see generated lyrics first 100 characters.
First 100 characters. Okay, and this is where it looks like right there you have that :100, which is only printing the latest 100. What happens if you get rid of that :100? Is that going to let us see all of them?
Maybe.
Can we try deleting that line, run this test again, and see if we now see all of the lyrics?
Sure. Bum, bum, bum. I have a question for you, though, then on this front. This is like a sort of thing that I've been curious about that I don't totally understand. Like, would it be preferable to like remake the script in TypeScript, remake the like lyric thing in TypeScript, write a song about TypeScript, and then use that in here? Are we trying to, fit a square peg into a round hole kind of a thing, in using TypeScript and Python? Or should they, in theory, I know that they can work together, because
you're doing it.
I'm doing it, and I vibe coded the entire the creative pipeline that Hugh goes through. I did myself in Python, and then my dev took it and wrapped it up and put it into the TypeScript JavaScript thing. That is Hugh, so it's certainly working. But just from a life, making life easier on oneself point of view, theoretically, would this be easier if I redid the thing in TypeScript?
That's a great question to ask. Would the problem be easier to solve if everything was in TypeScript instead of Python? I had no idea you could even combine them like you are. So you're already showing me the things I thought would be impossible or possible. I think that's a great question to ask. I don't have the answer, but I was wondering the same thing. So I think that is a great question to revolve around if this problem persists in the long term.
Okay, that's good to know. It's also, for whatever reason. Oh, I know why. Like, because of all the little things that I started out asking Claude and then Cursor to do, like rename all these files, or like the little scripts that I cut this video into 10-second chunks, like all the things that are all Python scripts. And so I feel like I just kind of got shunted down into like a Python road, where it's like, oh, I'm just gonna do this in Python because that's what, and then, and then of course it's like, oh, I don't know anything about TypeScript, and it's very different, and it's like, npm and pnpm and all these things. So, but
two very different languages. You're right.
It's worth wondering if, okay, this is interesting because I did send the tweet and I'm not seeing, I feel like we would have seen it by now. I may send another tweet just in case. Another thing that I've noticed about V1 versus V2, I can't figure out how to get more logging.
V2?
Yeah, in V1. V2 had npm run dev, which just gave you a lot of logs and gave you a lot of like stuff to work with. And I can't figure out, I couldn't find like a comparable way to see more. Oh, wait. Yeah, see, I think that it didn't see my tweet. Okay, write a song about anything you want. I'll send another tweet, and then hopefully this one will show up. Oh, that's interesting. That's an interesting behavior that I didn't know was set up. I think that the HughBot just liked one of my tweets.
Yep.
And I don't think I set that up. Or
It'll be the normal Twitter plugin.
Okay, so he did just respond to that, my write a song about TypeScript, which is interesting.
But we're not seeing the logs, and we're not seeing the generate song lyrics tool being called. Is that accurate?
No, yeah, and we didn't change anything, did we?
Although as far as I know, we only changed that one line of a log being.
Oh, that's true. We did. We changed that one line of the log. That is interesting.
It's not triggering the tool.
Oh, wait, there it is. It just took it.
Now?
Took a second. Yeah, you can. I don't know if you can see that at the bottom, but
yeah, I'm seeing. There. So you're saying it's already responded, and you're just now seeing the tool getting called, or was it already there?
It already responded. And I see what happened. I did something wrong. I tweeted at myself. That's not gonna work at all. I can't tweet at myself to write a song. Well, I could. Oh, okay, but then it did. Write a song about anything you want. Okay, right. So then it got the write a song about anything you want one, and then it also responded, in its way that it's doing now. Just interesting because it's different from what it was doing yesterday. Again, these rhymes are just terrible. Okay, but now we're gonna see our actual test here, which is it gonna output the whole lyrics or the everything rather than being truncated?
And to be clear, it has already replied, so it is not waiting for the script to run. It at this point has already replied.
Correct.
Okay. And the architecture, typically what happens in a client is the client is where messages can be received. A message gets received, it executes tools in order to inform its response, and then it uses the response from those tools to send the response.
Yeah.
So it is weird to me right now that we are getting a response, it is activating a tool, but the tool is not being awaited on before a response is being given.
I feel like what's happening is that it's responding and then activating the tool.
And that is not normal for my experience with Eliza. For example, building with AgentKit,
Yeah.
I would set it up with Telegram or with Twitter.
Yeah.
I would send a prompt like use the ETH faucet, and
Right.
then it'll use the ETH faucet, it
right.
gets the transaction hash, and then it will reply to my tweet with that transaction hash.
Right. That's exactly what I would think that it should do. Like,
Right.
That's exactly what I would expect it to do. I wouldn't expect it to, you say that, and then it says, oh, checking transaction hash. That's a great idea, or whatever. And then, so anyway, your thing did work. I mean, I don't know if this,
okay, we got them all.
I don't know if it's all the lyrics. Let me just double check if that ellipse
it's at least a tweet's worth of lyrics, right?
Correct. And it is all the, oh no, wait.
I see a ... at the end. You might still be filtering it on 200 somewhere else higher up the stream.
But you know what? I mean, for our purposes right now, that's enough lyrics where we could maybe say we could get rid of this, right? Is the idea? We'd get rid of
that we return before we get there. Yeah, we've already got what we need, so don't even try to read from a file. So there's two things here. One, the tweet is being sent before we're getting the response. And two, the logs are not showing us that we're returning the lyrics, the context that we expect in order to inform that. And so going back to the question you asked earlier, is the reason it's not waiting because we are doing some Python execution and the run, or is that a false peak and there's actually a different root cause for why the context is not being included?
I would be willing. I mean, tell me this. If I were to rebuild, and essentially all this does, right? All this run generation does is this Python script. It takes an input, it initializes it, it brings in Claude or DeepSeek. It takes the input along, and then it finds a cluster. And in this case, it uses this CSV that I have, which is like, I ended up using tags, which is kind of fun. After trying a bunch of different ways. And you have like word count, length, rhyme, end rhyme, internal rhyme, slant rhyme, narrative, abstract, humor, question, imperative, structure, section diversity, all of these things. It tends to use, I have it set up to only use some of these, but you can divvy up. There's a billion ways to divvy up your songs is the thing that is kind of complicated. So I just have it basically like choose like length, rhyme, and like one other thing, group some songs together, give 10. That's what it does essentially. And then it sends the 10 along with the main prompt, and then somewhere in here is the system prompt. Here's the system prompt. You're writing song lyrics, do revisions, et cetera, pay close attention to how they rhyme, pay close attention to repetition, all the things that I actually wanted to pay attention to. And then it returns the thinking, the examples, and the lyrics. If I were to redo this in TypeScript, where would it live? Would it live in a similar kind of thing, or just in its own little folder, and then we would call it, and then
you could keep it in the same folder. It could be you've got it lyrics hue Twitter, and then it's run direct generation.py.
Yeah.
You could do run direct generation.ts.
Yeah, it's just the same.
Keep it in the same place, and then this it would get imported inside of your action, action.ts.
Right.
Inside of there, on line 54. Instead of you calling execute promise where you're executing something in the terminal, you would directly just say call this function.
Right. And I wonder, it does seem, as we're talking about that, it does seem as though square peg round hole, maybe that's.
I would take this question and orient it into the Eliza chat. It sounds like you already have a line of communication with them.
Yeah.
I would go into there and say, I've written a tool.
Yeah.
The tool calls a Python script.
Yeah.
Right now, the Twitter plugin is replying before the Python script finishes.
Yeah.
Do you have any examples of someone writing tools in Python that I could reference in building this tool? Or are Python tools going to cause this error? And do you advise me to rewrite this in TypeScript?
Right.
I think those
Yeah.
would be the two things to help me out would be if Python is okay, can you give me an example of a tool that works in Python so that we can structure our tool the same way? Or if nobody's done it, let's not try to be the first because we are not
Yeah.
dev experts.
Yeah.
Let's take that as the signal to rewrite this in TypeScript and make our job easy.
Honestly, I would say probably I will say that to them, but my path at this point seems most likely, because I don't think it, famous last words, knock on wood, I don't think with my vibe coding skills as they are, I don't think it'll take me that long if I say, I would do this in a different place, right?
LLMs are great about translating from one language to another. So you
Right.
giving the Python
It's
script
like,
and
here's my thing. Let's just make it into it. I don't think that, and then we'll come back, put it in, and see if it works. I mean, if that's what we get to out of this, I think that's great. And just hearing how, how you think about things, and it's always so helpful to sit here with you and yeah, I just always feel that way of just like hearing you think through, okay, I'm seeing this, I'm seeing this, I'm seeing that. Even if I can follow only a little part of it, it's still, instructive in some way,
Do you want to summarize as we start to wrap up? What are your current next steps? We started this call with a problem that your Twitter bot was not replying at all, and it also was not generating lyrics. At the end of this call, it's still not replying with lyrics, but the bot is at least replying. What do you think you have learned? What conclusions have you reached? And what do you think your next steps are after this call in order to progress human's life on its birthday today?
It's very instructive to hear you say that you don't think that, or that you have never like crossed the stream. Don't cross the streams of Python and TypeScript, because my dev Alan, who's a beast, right? He's just like he's just a real beast. He didn't blink when I sent it. I was like, here's 30 Python scripts that work in sequence. This one takes the chat and turns it into a prompt. This one takes that prompt and turns into lyrics. This one takes those lyrics and turns it into a title. And it goes just like a cascade of things. And if any one of them goes wrong, it's all gonna break. And he's just, yeah, here, I'll take it. And here's my sprawling, type whatever Node.js TypeScript thing that I'm working on. Yeah, I'll just slot it in right here. It's fine. So I guess I might have had a slightly distorted view of what that is, but hearing you say that that's not something that you're used to makes me rethink, okay, with my own skills and my own where I am, maybe I should reorient myself to Eliza OS is TypeScript. Okay, well then the things that I bring into Eliza OS should probably also be TypeScript, so I don't have to think about it. Now, whether or not that's going to solve my problem, who knows? But even just that thought is helpful, I would say.
Closing prompt. You are building a digital twin of a musician, and we're entering into an age where I think more and more musicians maybe not need, but it will put the wind at their back to leverage these AI tools. For people that are seeing the work that you're doing and want to participate, other musicians or collectors or fans, what is the best way for them to be participating in what you are building with this digital twin of yourself, human?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's like anything and everything and all of the above, right? Like if you want to talk about AI stuff and how to use it in your own thing, I would love to talk about that. If you want to hear about how I did things with Hugh, how Hugh operates, I would love to talk about that. If you want to come to hughman.agency and chat with Hugh and see what that's like. I mean, that's really what this is all about for me. Bid on the song, buy some additions. I vibe coded this little breakout game that you can play. I also one closing thing actually that I wanted to share with you is, you talk about musicians entering this AI age where we are. This is Jonathan Mann. It's not me. This is another Jonathan Mann who on his own decided to start writing a song a day.
That's crazy.
He had never heard of me. He doesn't know who I am. In fact, I was at first like skeptical that his name was Jonathan Mann. I went into his Discord. I was like, is your name really Jonathan Mann? He writes a song a day using Suno.
No.
Mostly about Warhammer 40K, some other kind of fun nerdy things like that. He's doing super well, I would say.
He's got like thousands of views on some of these. He's got more
on many of these. He is building an actual real fan base as Jonathan Mann making a song a day. And so honestly, when I saw that, I was like, this is the perfect encapsulation of like where we're headed. This is it, is that you can say to the end of the earth that like it's not real music, that whatever you want to say about AI music, and that's fine. And I might not love the songs that he writes, but listen, he every day sits down and writes the lyrics, he uploads them to Suno, he gets an image, he puts it together, and he posts it. And I mean, you can judge the output, you can judge whatever, but he is making his work, and people are resonating with it. So that is literally, I mean, that's like an ad for Suno. I mean, I have so many problems with Suno and the guy and the CEO and everything, but like in terms of making music available to more people, there it is. And one of my next tasks, if I can ever get there, is to create 3 or 4 different versions of Jonathan Mann, my Jonathan Mann, who I am, that do that autonomously, where I'm going to make one that like only makes songs about crypto using Suno, only make songs about Apple using Suno, like all my most popular, like, pop culture songs that I do, songs about TV shows, just feed in an RSS feed of like every single RSS feed from like, whatever, some crypto outlet, and use that as the input. I have the whole thing set up. It already exists. Just make the song, boom, post it to YouTube. Make the song, boom. Like he'll be like cranking out like 20 songs a day just while, with that. And honestly, it's like, I love it and I hate it, right? It's like, it's great and it's not, and but it's exciting and it's weird and it's all of that. And that's what makes me most, that's just where I am, I think.
If you stuck around this long, please give this video a like. There is a QR code in the top left where you can scan to view the project. Human is being launched by Song a Day Man. Leave us a comment below if you have any questions about what we've been building. Otherwise, thank you for tuning in, everybody, and I'll see you in a bit for our next stream. Bye.
Thank you.